everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sin. It's been a minute, but hello, welcome, and if you're new, hello to you too. Today's video is going to be another IO video, and it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be podcast style. So with that said, bear with me. We talk about travel, lifestyle, and I have a whole little segment on IO. I did my undergrad in psychology and went to grad school for IO Psych. So behind each video, I really just want to share what stood out to me the most, and then kind of leave it up to you to see if this is something that you'd want to continue to learn about it. So going back to what I had said, my audio is probably not going to be the best because this is really the first video that piqued my interest in that sort of thing. I had to work with what I got, and this is it. However, there's still a lot of good information, and I hope you can take something away from it. This video is actually really special to me because it kicked off my interest to starting a podcast, one, and two, because it includes my friends that were in my cohort. Firstly, a huge thank you to you for being here because you inspired this video, and I really was able to communicate to them about how important this was to bring our experiences, their experiences. So I took those questions that I've been asked. We had a discussion, we had a talk. Most importantly though, I do encourage you to not stop here. Go ahead and try to find out who those students are that completed the program that you're eyeing and ask them what they thought about it. It's always important to see what their journey is like after the program, and maybe they can give you some information of what they did during the program as well. So going to be time-stamping the questions down below, so if you have a specific question you just want to go to, you can do that too. So for this video, get your headphones and sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thanks again. Hey, so I'm joined today with some of the most amazing ladies that I got to meet during my experience in grad school. They are so great, and each of them brings something so unique to the table. There's no doubt that IO has gained some amazing women in this field and in this career, and I cannot wait to hear what they can accomplish and will accomplish in the future. I know that we're barely at the beginning. So I want to just say thank you to every single one of you for being here again. I'm going to kick off this conversation with Celene. I think she did a great job of doing a little introduction with some information of why she chose this path, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the Q&A. Lastly, I didn't have a chance to meet with Midori or actually speak with Midori, but I think her voice is still as important as anybody else's, so her answers to these questions will be put in the description down below if you wish to check that out. But we'll just go ahead and kick it off, so I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, my name is Celene. Pleasure to be speaking to you today on IO Psychology. First, I want to say thank you to Cynthia for inviting me. I'm a recent Vanguard alumni and received a Master's of Science this past year. I would like to say thank you to all my fellow colleagues, faculty, and my advisor for making my experience at Vanguard so memorable and rewarding. I first heard of IO Psychology on the radio. I listened to a Christian station on my way home, and I heard about an information session for the IO Master's program at Vanguard. I quickly became interested because for a long time I wanted to go back to school and get my master's, even though I did not know what master's program I would dive into. I thought about business or going into law school. However, IO Psychology appealed to me because I knew that many organizations, including the one I worked for, needed help on many levels. As far as my background, I never held any management or HR work experience. Still, I knew that I could learn the needed skills to impact my current and future organizations at all levels positively. A class that solidified my thesis research paper was leadership and character development. My thesis was on how authenticity in leaders can affect employee engagement, and a great definition of authentic leadership by Bill George is that authentic leaders desire to serve others through their leadership. They are more interested in empowering the people they lead to make a difference than they are in power, money, or prestige for themselves. They are as guided by qualities of the heart, by passion and compassion. I love this definition focus on servant leadership and mentorship, and how this type of leadership can encourage and inspire employee voice. There is great value in instilling empowerment to others. I chose this program initially because of its flexibility around work schedule and also attending in-person class once a week. and how the cohort was smaller, so we had more one-on-one time with professors. This program actually completely changed the mindset I had before starting the program. IO psychology is very multifaceted. It covers many areas, such as human resources, leadership styles, leadership development, organizational ethics, diversity, performance management, employee engagement, and even consulting, with plenty of opportunities to present in conferences and receive other certifications. So it's a great program and has incredible value. In the program, you will learn from the best faculty, advisors, consultants, and practitioners. So you will be overwhelmed positively with impressive organizational knowledge. The numerous perspectives and skills you will learn will allow you to be equipped and enter any organization with confidence and positive input. A professional goal of mine is to have a position to help with leadership development and employee engagement, either as an internal employee at an organization or as a consultant. And maybe long-term goal would be to have my own company where I can apply the skills that I learned. I also love the arts and creative writing, so maybe in the creative industry would be a fantastic place to be. Advice to anyone thinking about whether IO psychology, I would say to think about what they're passionate about in their organization or what they would like to see, improve, and build on that. And if you do start the IO program, I would recommend start thinking about your niche and passion early on in the program, since you will have to spend a lot of time researching and writing about that topic for most of the program. And thank you for listening, and I hope that my experience helps somehow and that you will consider IO psychology.
Thank you so much, Celene, for that perfectly and well put together introduction. I think you covered it all within a span of a few minutes, and someone out there is going to really appreciate that. I want to segue over to the Q&A session with Miss ALINE, JOCELYN, and BROOKE. Thanks again for being here, and I want to just kind of highlight some of those questions that are really commonly asked, but at the same time that are general, that can be applied to maybe other programs as well. IO is such a new topic of study that you kind of have to be a go-getter if you do go into this field or if you do want to study this, because no matter what, when you probably tell somebody that this is what you're doing, you're going to get a confused look or they're just not going to know. So it really means that you have that opportunity to teach somebody else about what it is that you learned and how you can be so impactful within an organization or even in a consultant role. No matter what, you can apply what you learned in any position, any role. And I just wanted to kind of say that before we jumped in. But to kind of piggyback off that, I want to mention, or I want to ask you ladies, how do you feel when somebody asks this to you? When somebody says, what is IO? Or like, what did you graduate with? What's IO? How do you respond back to that?
Yeah, I do enjoy telling people about it because a lot of people don't know what it is. A lot of people will say, oh, is that the study of organizing things? And we have a little laugh there. But then essentially I tell them, it's more than that. It's study of people in the workplace itself. But there's so much more to it. And then I try to tell them about, all the different avenues it entails. So that could be, leadership development or organizational development. And I usually just kind of describe those types of things to them. But that's usually how my experience is when I first tell people that was my degree, that's what I studied. Many of them don't know that. They're more familiar with like organizational development and more programs like that.
So did any of you consider going into organizational development or maybe going to another program, or was IO Psych the one that you mainly looked at and wanted to get into?
This is Alina. I'll kind of touch on that. So to kind of combine the two questions, I, chose IO Psych, and I actually heard about it on the radio, and it's just a really funny story that I like to tell because it's just like so random, and I feel like it was absolutely meant to be. And I heard about it, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is, I was struggling trying to, find something else to do besides work, and I consider myself a lifelong learner, and I, really wanted to get plugged into something. And when people ask me about IO Psych, I immediately go to, it's the, the study of organizations, the study of leaders, like leaders and leadership development, training and development, HR. And I only seem to touch on those things. And I think that it's because those are what interests me the most. But it is so much more, and then I follow up with, and it's so much more, diversity and inclusion, all of the laws and policies within the organization, etc. So the reason why I chose it is because, one, I feel like it came to me, and two, because it's so broad. And I always tell people, I'm like, if I have a job in an organization, no matter what it is, it's going to be applicable. And that was kind of my main motivation, to select this program and be a part of it. This is Brooke again. For me, I had just finished, or I was coming close to finishing my undergrad. And I kind of came to this place of where I thought I was going to do clinical psychology. That was kind of the route I thought I wanted. And as graduation approached, I just kind of started to feel like, I don't know if that's for me, but I still want to use my psychology background in a different way. And I didn't quite understand what that looked like yet. And then I had a conversation with a friend, and we were just discussing it. And she was like, you should look back into like IO psychology again. And I had actually completely forgot what that was, because we barely touched on that in my undergrad psychology. We, I think, maybe spent probably like 15 minutes talking about it. So to be completely honest, I had forgot about it. And then through that conversation with my friend, it got me doing a little more research, and I found out that we actually had the program at the school that I did my undergrad at. And so I ended up talking with one of the professors there, and he gave me some resources and some videos to watch and just kind of told me more about it. And then that's when I felt like, okay, this is something I could see myself doing. And similar to what Alina said, there's so many different avenues and paths that you can take with IO psychology. And there's so much opportunity, and truly any person at any level can benefit from it. And so for me, that gave me confidence going into it, because I felt like, while I may not know what I want to do with it right now, I know that there's options and opportunity. And so that was kind of the mindset I had going into it. And that's my experience with it.
Absolutely. Thank you both for highlighting the immense amount of opportunity that there is with this field, because there isn't just one route. You can really try it all. And I remember one of our professors talking about that important aspect, and how he said, maybe you might not know, like, you've never tried HR. Maybe you get into HR and you love it, or you might hate it. And regardless if you do or you don't, it's okay. You have the skills, you have the knowledge to go somewhere else and try something else. And that's what I like about this, that it's not just one route and you're just going to do that for X amount of years. You can really go about it in different ways. The other thing I think is so funny, Alina, how you and Celene both found out about it through the radio, but you know what? It worked. And you guys heard it at the perfect time, right? Like you said, it came to you. So that's amazing. Question, is there any work experience that might have pushed you to kind of get into IO as well? Like, one of the things that I remember talking about in class was how, I've never been a manager. I've never had any of that experience of managing a team. But I can tell you that I have had managers and I've had people in leadership, and I see their styles. I see what I like. I see what I don't like. I see what represents me and what I want to be like in the future. And that was something that really pushed me to get into this. Is there anything similar for any of you that you might want to talk about?
So, kind of like that example you were giving me, that I didn't have like the manager, and I never blamed him personally for not being good at his job. I just always thought he like lacked the support. Unfortunately, that he didn't have those resources or those people there to like back him up and help him to become better, especially since he had been at his position for 9-10 years. So that's what I found so interesting with IO Psych is being able to help people become better at what they're doing, and if they're not doing a good job, then there's ways to go about it and ways to help them. And I feel like that's the whole background of it. To push employees to be better at what they're doing, to be better at their job, because if you have a good employee, then you have an even better organization. This is Alina, and I'm totally with JOCELYN on that. I think it really provided the opportunity to be a voice. and to gain all of this knowledge that we can bring back to our organizations. And for me, I support a team of about 60, and specifically about probably eight leaders. And I say leaders meaning so like vice president, directors and vice presidents. And I really wanted to be a voice, and I really wanted to be an advocate for the ones that may not have the title that some people would consider to be a leader, and that everybody does have the capability, everybody does have the voice, everybody does have, the support from me at least, to be a leader and to gain that knowledge. And so for me, I think the motivation, and especially through work and being an executive assistant, was to be a voice and to bring back everything that I'm learning to, my group and specifically the directors and above on my team to, again, kind of as JOCELYN was mentioning, to help them be a leader, to support them, and to know that there's always room to grow, there's always things to learn, and more specifically that leadership is not tied to titles. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, and that I wanted to change, in the organization and in our department.
Wow, thank you so much, Alina, for bringing that up, because I actually just stumbled upon this video when I was scrolling through LinkedIn. It's by Simon Sinek. He's a motivational speaker and he's an author as well. And it was about leadership and titles, and exactly what you said, that it is not tied together. All of us can be leaders. All of us have that capability to have that voice and to even bring that voice from others that may not have tapped into it yet. We can stand up and say when something's not right. And of course, we're willing to take that risk because it is scary to speak up sometimes. Looking back at the program and all the courses we took, some of my favorite ones were the leadership classes, because it really brought me that sense of confidence and it made me realize the type of leader I wanted to become. What about you guys? What were those classes that stood out to you the most?
I agree with you in terms of the leadership class. I think we took two of them, but I really liked our psychology of leadership and motivation. That was one class that really stood out to me. I loved learning about the different types of leadership, whether it was transformational leadership or authentic leadership. We also took assessments, like the strength scope assessment, so it really helped us learn about ourselves. It's always so important just to be aware of one's strengths, because then it helps you to learn how you work best with someone, or maybe when conflict arises, this is why it may be. Maybe you're overdoing a certain strength. And so that's one thing I loved about those classes. And then another one was our performance management class, what is kind of becoming more common, which is rather than just a yearly annual review or quarterly check-in, what it looks like now, frequent feedback and the coaching of a manager or a supervisor. And so this really ongoing cycle of conversation, setting up practical goals, and there was so much more in the class that I can't even remember at the top of my head right now.
I want to second the performance management and employee engagement class. I really, really love that class. More so on the employee engagement side of things. I think it's easy to assume when you go into a workplace that if an employee is lazy, that an employee doesn't want to do their job, that an employee is doing bare minimum, and I feel like that's the easiest thing to assume. It's interesting to see that there's all these factors that go into how an employee is engaging in the workplace, all these factors that you can work around or work through with these employees to make them the best versions of themselves, Sometimes there's things that we don't know that are going on behind the scenes that if we really sat down and engage with that employee, we might find out, and we're like, hey, this is what's going on, we can help them with it, and look at they're better than they were yesterday.
The one thing specifically with that class is, Alina, that I will never forget is the concept of derailers and energizers, and basically the thought that, what is not exciting to you and what makes you tired and, the things that make you feel like the day is dragging on are considered derailers, and the things that really motivate you and make the day fly by and that excite you and make you smile are all things that are energizers, and ultimately those are motivators for you in the workplace. And so, for instance, I think a lot of us came up with I really enjoy organizing, and I really enjoy people and XYZ, and that ultimately can kind of help determine what career path you may want to go down, or what department you want to be in, and how you're going to best get through the day.
Oh yeah, the performance management class. That was actually a really good class. I did enjoy that too, especially because I've been working for a while now. So I've been through my fair share of yearly reviews, and some organizations do it better than others. There's no right or wrong way, but feedback is so important, and I think a lot of us wait until the last minute to provide it. And even then, you kind of just remember the last final things that people did, especially if you're not doing these as frequently as you should. But I can talk about this later on. For the sake of time, let's go ahead and talk about what we completed. So I got an MS in IO Psych. I think some of us did get MAs, but that is a question that people have. What's the difference? Why did you choose one over the other? Basically, my answer would be that I got an MS because it was what we originally signed up for. Halfway through, they did ask if we wanted to switch to MA. We could. It would just mean not doing our research project, but I was so deep into it that I said, you know what, I'm not going to just scrap this. I'm going to continue on and do it.
Yes, I took the MA route. So the only difference for me was, since they did bring us the option towards the end out of our program, whether we wanted to switch to keep our MS or switch to an MA. So I had already taken every single class to everyone else. The only difference for me was I didn't have to finish my thesis. I did basically more or less an applied project where I had these 4 essay questions that were very specific to a specific organization and a specific problem at the organization. And basically I had to find a solution as if I were a consultant for that company.
I think just because of where I was at already with my research, I wanted to continue on the path towards the MS because I had already conducted my research and gathered participants and started running data. So essentially, I think that's kind of what swayed me and just continuing on the route of sticking with the MS. So that was more so my experience with it. And I think just because when we started the program, that was, I think, initially the one option we had. And then I want to say about midway through is when they presented that we had other options to now choose from. And so just, again, because of the timing and where I was already at with my research, I just chose to continue. So.
Thank you for answering that. Just a few more questions left. So the second to last one is, was there anything that changed your mind about IO after you finished the program?
Most of us growing up start getting jobs when we're 17, 18, 19. But we might not have experience with other jobs or just how laws and labor works. So we just kind of go along with it. So just being in this whole program kind of made me realize that people in power may use that power for good, but they can also use it for bad. And when I say bad, they might take advantage of their employees, and even though they know, it's not the right thing to do. So it's just crazy to see how people get taken advantage of at the workplace, and it only made me want to be built so much more to be able to help those who might not know.
This is Alina. I think for me, I didn't realize going into it all of the umbrellas that were technically considered under human resources. When I originally, before the program, thought of human resources, I thought it was the person that you can go to if there's an issue in the office, or you have an issue with somebody, things like that. And going through the program, and at least the way that my organization is structured, is that there are so many different umbrellas under human resources. And so yes, there are folks in organizations that do help with issues that may arise, but there's also talent development under HR. There's also recruiting and I'm trying to blank on the talent acquisition, and you have to know all of the laws and policies, be up to date on that. And so for me, I think just one of the most shocking things was how encompassing human resources was. And I think that may be the reason why a lot of people think, oh, that's where I want to go, or that's where I want to be, because it is, just in itself pretty broad, depending on how the organization is. but yeah, I think for me, I had a false view of what human resource employees did, and it is so much more than I would have ever thought before the program. This is Brooke here. I agree with you, Alina, because prior to being in the program, I'm like, my thoughts towards human resources was, oh, they're the policy police. Like, that's kind of that mentality. They seem to not enjoy their job and blah, blah, blah. People don't like them. But it's funny because through that class again, or through the program, I should say, I feel like, yeah, you learn about all these different umbrellas and all these different, I guess, niches of HR. There's so many different areas in it that people fill those positions and they're really intended to be about the people. And so prior to the program, I would have said HR is not for me. Well, I'm currently working in HR now, and it's because there were so many different opportunities within HR. Well, yes, we're having to implement policies here and there. We're also dealing with and working on diversity and inclusion initiatives. We're also doing onboarding. We're also recruiting. So everything you said, Alina, I definitely agree with.
Huge congrats to you and JOCELYN for getting a position in HR, by the way. Really quick, I know you guys are both pretty new to the field, but was it challenging to get a role in HR? I know that that's one of the biggest stigmas that I've been facing, especially for me, who I've been working for a while. So a lot of the feedback that I've been getting whenever I reach out to somebody in HR is that it is quite challenging to get in. And if I do get in, it's probably going to be a little bit maybe on the lower pay than I would want, etc. And I'm just curious, how was your journey like? One of the things that I did and that I do mention to people is that they should reach out to people that are in those roles because you just never know. I actually reached out to one of my friends and he did message me back. He said, you know what, there's this opportunity at this place, but because of everything going on with the world and just opportunity that I had within my own role, I didn't move. I decided to stay. I really weighed my pros and cons. But is there anything that you can add to this, or is it still pretty too new to say?
Because I'm still newly, I would say, into this role, and I'm still learning so much. And I would say, yes, it can be overwhelming at times because there's so much that is involved and that goes. I really do love it because it's this view into all these different areas and all these different initiatives that are currently taking place, and with everything going on right now too, it's just a really unique experience. And if it's difficult to get in, I'm not quite sure what that looks like because I had met someone and connected to them or connected with them, and I just had said if there's any potential, opportunity, I would be very much interested, and there happened to be. So I don't actually know what the typical, I guess, job search for an HR role looks like because mine just kind of happened. It came into fruition.
We finished the program in December 2019, and I just got this position June 2020, so 6 months. And I'm not gonna lie, along the way it was frustrating. It was hard because I was like, I have all this knowledge I want to share. I have to keep trying. If this doesn't work out, it's okay. There's more opportunities out there that would better fit me. The company I work at is predominantly Hispanic people that only speak Spanish. So as a bilingual person that speaks both English and Spanish, I love the fact that I can use Spanish to help these people that otherwise might struggle to know about 401ks or about their medical benefits or any questions that they have, in HR. So just that part of it makes me personally happy that that this position landed when it did.
Absolutely, JOCELYN. It's all about the mindset because it is kind of troublesome to look for jobs. It's not exactly that fun, but you know what? When you land one, it's the best feeling ever. So congrats again to you both. To wrap things up, though, I just want to ask, are there any last-minute tips that you have for future students?
This is Alina. I think a couple of things. So to your point that you just mentioned a little bit ago, I think reaching out and asking, connecting on LinkedIn, connecting within your cohort, connecting to other departments, in your university that you're at or the program. I think that that's really huge. And from what I find, or even maybe if you're interning somewhere, just really trying to plug yourself in and reach out to as many people as possible. And what I find, and this may not always be the case, but that people really enjoy it. They want to talk about themselves and how much they like or don't like their job. Now I'm more apt to, do such things like this and, kind of share that. So I think for one, network, I know obviously again in this virtual setting it's a little bit harder, but definitely try to plug in. I think presentation skills are really crucial. I think no matter kind of, again, what job you have and where you go and what organization you're with, there's always going to be times where you're having to present or speak speak publicly. And I think that just kind of sharpening up those skills are really important. Maybe joining, I know I've heard good things about Toastmasters and, just reading articles and practicing, I think is really big for both, your future career and for school. You're having to present your research and different things all the time. And lastly, I think to just believe in yourself. I think that, depending on where these folks are at in their program when they're watching this, school's hard and it's not meant to be easy. And, we're also working or taking care of our kids or, whatever it may be. And so I think that just to know that it is possible and that you can do it, and really believe that and don't give up, I think would be the biggest message that I could share and tip and trick, because in the end it is so worth it. And again, as I mentioned earlier, if you plan to have a job in the future at XYZ organization, this degree will be applicable. So don't give up. I love that. This is Brooke. So I have a couple of, I guess, tips or ideas or advice that I would say, or things that I would want to say to myself, and that would be to just remind yourself that it is going to be challenging at times, but it's going to be so worth it. But just some things that I would suggest is to be proactive in terms of getting ahead on your research. You'll feel like, depending on the length of your program, that you have a lot of time to maybe choose a topic and do the research. But the thing is, it does go very quickly. And so I would just suggest, if you have an idea of what you're wanting to research, just be on top of it and just don't procrastinate, and really just try and get ahead, because you might find that in 4 months' time, you're actually not very interested in what you're studying, and you maybe want to rethink it or restructure it, and you want to make sure you give yourself that time to do that so that you're not getting overwhelmed or stressing out or burning out. And then something else too would just be to ask questions, seek help when needed, and there's times if you are doing research or having to do statistics and that's not something that you're maybe comfortable with or excel in, it's okay to ask for help. People are there to help you, and they want to help you understand. So I would say seek out that help, and then in the process, connect with others. And then kind of similar to what Alina said, I would just say that you got this, you can do it. It's totally worth it, and it's so rewarding. And it really does go by really fast. So just put in the time, do the work, and it's just a really great experience. And I would just say, yeah, don't give up.
Take a topic you like for research, because if you love your researching, it's like research, you're just gonna have fun with it and be doing it on your free time without even thinking about it. But also, I personally have just in all my educational career, school life, I've always had trouble asking for help, because to me, asking for help might make me seem like I don't know what I'm talking about to others. But you have to realize, like Chris said, people want to help you, people want to see you succeed, people want to get ahead. So never hesitate to ask for help. Your cohort is there to root for you, your professors are there for you, like they all want to succeed. So push each other, celebrate each other, celebrate the little things. If you find school or homework challenging, celebrate the little things. Hey, you finished a paper, reward yourself with a coffee. I don't know. If you made it through reading the chapter you read for that night, reward yourself with a piece of chocolate. Just celebrate the little things, because at the end of the day, you're going to have that big reward, which is going to be your degree. All that knowledge used forever and ever in your organization that you go to.
We made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for bearing with me on that. I hope you were able to take something away from it, if not all, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.